You're tuned in to Conversation with Cardinal Dolan. I'm Monsignor Jim Vlaun. Now we're joined by Bishop François Beyrouti to discuss becoming the 6th eparchial bishop of the Diocese of Newton for the Melkite Catholic Church in the United States of America. Thanks so much for being with us. We're glad
You're welcome.
You're here.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
Hallelujah. My
Thank
brother,
you.
Francois. You're not a bishop yet.
I am a bishop,
Are
actually.
you? When were you
October the 12th.
So you were October the 12th. Okay. Where were you consecrated?
1 month, 2 days, and 4 hours.
Way to go.
In North Hollywood. We have 2 cathedrals, one in North Hollywood, California, and the other one is the main cathedral in West Roxbury near Boston.
That's a suburb of Boston.
Yes.
And that's kind of the main one. But so you got the whole country.
The whole country, yeah. Kind of a small territory.
But, and you were, if I'm not mistaken, you were a parish priest in California.
Correct. I was in Orange County for 10 years. And before that, I was in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So I've been a priest for 24 years.
I read your biography. It's very impressive. You know that? Now, you're not married.
I'm not married.
Because you couldn't be a bishop, but your priest can marry.
That's right. I mean, if they're married, they can be ordained deacons and priests, but if once they make a decision to be ordained a deacon or a priest, of course, that's a permanent decision.
Sure it is. Sure it is. We're very grateful that you're here.
Thanks.
We offer you congratulations. Now, what do you notice, Monsignor Vlaun, about these bishops? Look closely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't see any rings.
You guys don't have the tradition of a ring.
No, we don't.
I know my Eastern Catholic brothers have explained that to me, but tell me again.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what the history of the ring is, but we have an engolpion, which is the icon of the Mother of God, which reminds us of the church, that Mary brought forth Christ into the world, and that's the role of the church. And the bishop is the sign of that unity in Christ, and to symbolize the unity of all the parish, to always be focused on bringing forth Christ in everything that we do. So,
now,
folks, Mother of God and Christ.
You know what's unique? Because Bishop Francois is a bishop of the Melkite Rite, R-I-T-E. Now, we've had a lot.
And we're not always right, just to be the...
Well, neither are we. You're not always left, all right. But it's R-I-T-E, which means he's as Catholic as we are, folks. He's as Catholic as I am, right? But there's different rites in the church, meaning in faith and morals, we believe the same thing.
Exactly.
But especially in the way we worship, in our liturgy, in the celebration of the sacraments, it could be different. Our people, like we've had the Ukrainian rite on a lot, especially with the current tension. We've had the Maronites on a lot. Tell us about the Melkite rite.
Sure.
M-E-L-K-I-T-E.
For sure. So to back up a little bit, when you talk about the different rites of the church, I like to divide them into liturgical families, because within the various churches, they fall within certain number of families. And there are basically 5 liturgical families within the Catholic Church.
Okay.
The largest, of course, is the Roman Rite. And then in the East, when we talk about East and West, we're not, of course, talking about Europe or America. We're talking about the ancient Roman Empire.
That's right.
And
Rome and Constantinople.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, exactly. So in the eastern part of the Roman Empire, which would be Constantinople all the way around to Egypt, there developed the Byzantine Rite, which is a family. And within that, you have the Ukrainians, the Melkites, the Antiochians, a variety of other churches. And then you have the Armenian liturgical family. And what's unique about the Armenians is that in 301, they were the first nation to declare themselves to be a Christian nation.
That's right.
So they were outside the Roman Empire. They weren't being persecuted in the same way. So you have the Byzantine, the Armenian, then you have the Syriac, which is the Maronites, like you mentioned. And then, of course, last but not least, you have the Coptic families.
Sure.
And all those have a Catholic churches, and also have Orthodox churches. So we are of the Byzantine family of Antioch.
It can be confusing for the ordinary Catholic, but it's a tremendous radiance of the universality of the church. And now, most of them are concentrated in the Mideast, correct?
Correct. The Eastern...
Because you were born in Lebanon, right?
I was born in Lebanon, correct. And we left in 1976, the beginning of the war, civil war in Lebanon. And unfortunately, the wars in that region have not stopped since then. And we found refuge. First, we left on a little boat to Cyprus. We basically escaped the country in the midst of shelling and bombing. And then we found our way to Greece for a few months to do our paperwork, and then we ended up in Canada. And my dad had visited Vancouver, Canada, a few years before that, so he kind of liked the geography, he liked the weather, and so we settled in Vancouver. And then I went to do my theological studies at at Benedictine Seminary, actually outside of Vancouver, Mission, British Columbia. And then I went to Ottawa to be with the Ukrainians who had started an Institute of Eastern Christian Studies.
Sheptytsky
The Sheptytsky Institute of Eastern Christian Studies.
Yeah.
And then 10 years ago, Bishop Nicholas Samra invited me to come to the United States. My predecessor, a wonderful person who was very instrumental in my life for the last 30 years, my early days of formation.
So you're going to have to move now to Newton.
Well,
I've
already moved my stuff. As I said, I've been a bishop for over 30 days, but since that time, I went to Warren, Michigan to celebrate the 100th anniversary of a parish. And then I went to Newton for the official enthronement, or we call it sometimes called the installation, but we call it the enthronement. And then after that, I went to Rhode Island, New Hampshire. I was in McLean, Virginia, and then here. And now I'm going to Brooklyn, New York next week, and then to Connecticut, and then back to California to actually pack my stuff.
Because you would, so you've been dragging a U-Haul for the last.
That's right. We're
30
living
days.
out of a suitcase.
See, so would the demographically, so when the Melkite people would come here as immigrants,
Correct.
would they try to settle in an area where there are other Melkites, where there'd be a parish?
There are two things, yes. That sometimes people settled where they had relatives, and then a parish would emerge.
Okay.
Other times it was where jobs were. Sometimes in the mills, sometimes in factories, sometimes in they were businessmen, so they settled in places where they were able to do business. So those were the early immigrants. Today, our church has moved. We still have our Middle Eastern root. Some parishes have more Arabic than others, but we're also focusing today on the beauty of the Byzantine liturgy as an apostolic church rooted in the city of Antioch. We're very blessed that Antioch is mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 11, that the place where, for the first time, the followers of Christ were called Christians. So we're focusing on our spiritual heritage that's actually open to the whole world. And I just came back from a parish in McLean, Virginia, that have people of all backgrounds: former Muslims, former Methodists, former non-believers, and some Roman Catholics who just love early church history that want to experience that as well.
Yes,
so we're a church that's open to all.
And we can do that, Monsignor Vlaun. A lot of people, we get asked a lot, can I go? Of course
absolutely.
You can go.
Yeah.
They're as Catholic as we are. You have two collections too.
And priests can celebrate, and we of course can celebrate at a Roman Catholic because we're
now,
one church.
Is your massive, you call it an eparchy, not a diocese. Is it just the United States, or do you have Canada as well?
We have a separate diocese or eparchy in Canada. So
okay.
our diocese or eparchy, I wouldn't say only America, because as if that's not big enough, but it's we have one. Other Eastern Catholic churches have more than one, but right now for us, we're trying just to strengthen our churches. And for me, that's one of my top priorities is to visit our 50 churches spread across the entire
Where
United
would
States.
where would the Melkite population be concentrated?
Well, there are different concentrations around the United States. We have a large concentration in Los Angeles, Orange County. The parish that I was at had a very good, significant population. New Jersey is also a big concentration. We have a nice community in Brooklyn, and another big community, Warren, Michigan, Detroit area, a large number of Middle Easterns. Of course, McLean, Virginia, doesn't have a large Middle Eastern population, but it has a lot of people who love the Byzantine liturgy, and that parish is packed every Sunday with vocations.
And would your language of worship be Greek?
Originally, it was Greek, so the Byzantine liturgy would have Greek as its origin, and then throughout history, the languages have changed, so the historical language of Antioch was also Syriac, and that was the language of the people. The official language, of course, was Greek, and in the 6th century up until now, it's pretty well Arabic. And now we're coming full circle where English has become a universal language, and so English is predominantly used.
Let me ask you this. It's probably one of the pastoral challenges that you have. You just told us good news that many people not raised Melkite feel attracted. You're right. But I would reckon, and I know this is true because I hear my brother bishops tell me, that when your people come here, if they can't find a parish, they probably, and you'd wish they could find a Melkite parish, but you're kind of happy that at least they go to the Latin parish.
Correct.
They're still practicing their Catholic faith.
That does happen.
So
and we try to establish parishes, not like we're not trying to compete with anybody, but sometimes people who are used to a particular worship and a particular tradition sometimes don't understand others and they feel comfortable at home. So sometimes, unfortunately, they end up going nowhere, or they end up going to Protestant church. So we're blessed that, if they end up going to a Latin Rite church, of course they can. But
where are most of the Melkites in the world? In Lebanon?
Lebanon, Syria is a very big population
Syria.
right now. Yes, a very large population.
And so a Rite would have a patriarch, and your patriarch
Correct. Our
is
patriarch,
in Beirut?
No, well, he moves around just like all of us move around to different places. Historically, he's the patriarch of Antioch, but his technical see is in Damascus, which is the oldest.
Him.
Yeah, which is the oldest
Bishop
capital.
Murphy and
yeah.
But okay.
And then he lives in Lebanon. Just to continue the theme, he lives. He goes between Damascus and Lebanon.
We're fascinated
because there are a lot of communities in Lebanon.
See, Adam Hamway drove us crazy to get you on.
Well, that's a good thing.
And I'm glad we did.
I hope you didn't regret it.
Extraordinarily interesting because you know his brother, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And where is he? Was he in a parish in New Jersey?
His brother?
Yeah. Adam.
Adam. Yeah.
Joe, where's he at?
Yeah, you know where he is?
Yeah. Is he by that hot dog
Rutt's
place?
Hut, yes.
Oh,
exactly
he's by Rutt's Hut, the best hot dogs around. Darn it.
Can't go
That's
wrong
why
with that.
you've learned the Byzantine Rite.
That's also the blessing of Melkite hospitality. If you come to a Melkite church, you're going to be fed, you're going to be happy, you're going to be
Monsignor Vlaun
worshiping
wants to pursue that in the second
Thank you. Yeah, very good. Well, take care.
Thank you.
And thank you as well.
We're glad to have
it's an
you.
honor for me
Way
to
to
meet you
go,
and be here.
Francois.
Thank you.
On the other side of our break, we'll be joined by Monsignor Kieran Harrington, the National Director of the Pontifical Mission Society in the United States. That's when we return to Conversation with Cardinal Dolan on the Catholic Channel Sirius XM. We'll be right back.